guys, this is Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly, and today I'm doing my summer book haul. And I'm a little off my plan. Originally my plan was to wait and do my book haul at the end of summer because I wasn't planning on buying that many books over the summer. But then I got my birthday's in May and I got a late birthday present from my mother, which was $100 cash, and so of course I ended up buying a lot of books. And so I don't want to wait till the end of the summer since I already have like 39 books here to share with you. So I'm going to show you these, and then I'll do another book haul, a second summer book haul at the end, because I want to put them together. Because if you've been watching my book hauls this year, for every book I buy, I'm giving $1 to a charity, and I want to combine these two into one lump sum to a charity, because in August it'll be a year from when my mother-in-law passed away, and she, before she died, was a tutor for children with dyslexia, and I really wanted all my summer donations to go towards a charity that would support people that have dyslexia. And I haven't done the research yet to know which charity I want to give to, so I can't share with you which charity that's going to be. So that's why I'm going to do a second haul in August, and by then I will have done the research and picked a charity to give to in honor of my mother, because it was something she was very passionate about. And so let's get right into the book haul. So I ordered from several different places before. I'll save my birthday ones to the end. So I had a few places I bought before I spent that $100. And the first place I went was Barnes & Noble, and I got a couple more of the Barnes & Noble Classic Collection, which I'm getting all the kind of like children's classics to have in my daughter's library. And so this time I got The Wizard of Oz, which has a little pretty cover that has kind of the picture from the movie. I just love their collection, just the way the covers look, they're so beautiful. And then I also got Peter Pan, because it's shiny and pretty. And I don't own a copy of Peter Pan, so now I have one that matches all the other ones for their library. So that's all I got at Barnes & Noble. And then I got 3 books at my library's sale. And I got Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, and she wrote The Giver, and so I know this is, I'm assuming from the size that this is a children's book, and from the back it just sounds like it's about a girl who goes to live with her friend's family during World War II as the Nazis start to march into their town. So I'm assuming she's Jewish and is hiding out at her friend's house. I'm assuming I might have read this when I was a kid, but I don't remember anything about it. And since the show's short, I figured I can get through it really quickly and see if it's something I want to keep for my children to read. The other one from the library was The House on Mango Street. And this is a story, a coming-of-age story about a young girl who lives in a Latino section of Chicago. And since I live in the Chicago area right now, and I've heard this book is good, I thought it would be interesting to read. And then the last one I got from my library was To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. And I actually don't know anything about this. I've heard of it before, and obviously I've heard of Virginia Woolf. But when I even read the back, I was like, that really tells me absolutely nothing about this book. So I can't tell you anything about this book because this summary is all of those like, oh, a moving portrayal and about a family and their challenges. And I'm like, that's not telling me anything about the plot. But since it's a classic, I thought I would get it, and it was 25 cents. So no harm if it's not good. That's everything I got from my library. And then I got 2 books from Half Price Books. The first was Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. And this is about this is a historical fiction that takes place in 1941 in Lithuania, and about a girl who's separated from her family, and she starts writing these clues and letters, I believe, to her family, and I don't know if she's trying to reunite or just trying to pass messages. I don't know a lot about it, but it sounded like it was popular on BookTube and something that might be a bit of a tearjerker and be good. The other one I got there was The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, and this is a Russian kind of folklore fairy tale fantasy about a girl and her family who they've always believed in spirits and how they affect their family and community, but then her father remarries a woman who has decided that they're not going to talk about or believe in spirits anymore, and I guess that things must start happening to the family. Misfortunes, it sounds like, happen to the family in the village due to the beliefs of the stepmother. So, and it's going to be I think a trilogy, and the second one's already out, and the third one's coming out this year maybe. So I thought I would jump on and start reading them. And then I bought a couple things from Amazon. First was I saw this version of the Hunger Games. I was at Half Price Books and I saw this book, the edition of Mockingjay, and I was like, oh, I really want those editions, because I've never actually had a physical copy of Hunger Games. When I first read this like 8 years ago, I read it on my Kindle, and so I have it on my Kindle still, but I really wanted to have this pretty box set because they're very shiny, and I just thought they were really gorgeous. And so they had them on Amazon for like $20, so I got that from Amazon. And then also from Amazon, I bought several bookmarks, because I usually just use like a random piece of paper or mail for my bookmark, and I thought, you know, I'm an adult, I can have some real bookmarks, I could spend money on that. So I bought some really cute bookmarks from Amazon. I got these cute magnetic ones that have like a squirrel and a fox and an owl and obviously a bookworm. And I love these magnetic ones because they're a little harder for my daughter to pull out of the book, because she has a tendency, if it's like a regular bookmark that sticks way out, she just yanks it out. I'm like, rude, that's my spot. And then I got a couple more of the magnetic ones that have sloths on them, because sloths are just like super adorable for some reason, even though all they do is lay around. I don't know, they're cute. And then I got a couple regular bookmarks, and this one says I read past my bedtime, because let's face it, I do. Even though I get up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I still sometimes find myself reading until midnight, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself when I know my baby's gonna wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning? But that's life. And then the other one I got has a sloth, because like I said, I love sloths right now. It says I like to party, and by party I mean take naps and read. And then the last ones I got from Amazon, I guess I should open these so you can see them. They're like bookmarks to color, and they do have Bible verses on them. So they're like where you can color them in, and then, you know, like they'll say something like rejoice in the Lord always, or trust in the Lord with all your heart, things like that. So they're just like little Christian bookmarks, and sometimes I like to meditate and pray while I do the coloring, and so that's why I got these, and then I'll be able to use them as bookmarks afterwards. So that's all the stuff I got before I decided to spend all of my birthday money on books. But let me just say that with $100, I bought almost 30 books. I bought 29 books with $100. And the way I did that was that I bought 14 books from Thrift Books, which is a used book online store. And so most of the books cost like $2 or $3. And then I bought an order from Book Outlet, which does like cheaper books, because they're like, what are they called? Like overages, like they printed overprint or whatever. And those, I had a coupon, and there was also like a site-wide sale. So they were like really on sale. So I spent like $45 for the thrift book purchase and $45 for the Book Outlet. So together, I spent $100 on 29 books. Go me. So let's go through them. I'll try to be really quick and just do very short summaries, so this isn't like a forever long, since it's 29 more books. And the first one I got was No Exit by John Parr Sartre. And this is a collection of plays, actually. No Exit was the play I wanted to read, but it has 4 other plays. And the No Exit play, I guess, is supposed to be an existential portrayal of hell in a play. The next one is also a play, The Laramie Project. And this was a play that was based off of interviews that this theater company did in Laramie, which is the town in Wyoming where back in 1998 a gay man was beaten and left to die, and just a tragic situation. And so they went to this town and they interviewed a bunch of people that live there and how it affected the whole town and community, and then they made a play out of it. And I've never actually read the play, so I wanted to read it. And then I got a couple classics. I got Flowers for Algernon, and this is about a man with a low IQ that has put into an experiment to raise his intelligence. And it's called Flowers for Algernon because the first animal that they did the experiment on was a mouse called Algernon. And so they do this experiment on this man. His intelligence does increase, but then they start to notice that the mouse is having some issues, and so they're worried about what's going to happen to the man. I hear it's a tearjerker, so I don't always, I usually save the books that aren't going to make me cry for these special moments when I just feel like I really need to cry, so I will pull that out when I just really need to sit down and cry. And then the other classic I got was Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I've been in the mood to read a Steinbeck book, and I had gotten East of Eden, but it's really big, so I was like, I think I'm going to go get Of Mice and Men and just read that first since it's short. And I really don't know much about this, and since it's so short, I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to read it. And then I got Ruby Red, which this is the first in a trilogy. It's about a girl who's from a family that time travels, but she thought she was skipped over with the gift, but then one day she starts like getting pulled into different times, and so now she's having to learn how to time travel all of a sudden when she hasn't had the training to do it. And I think there's a love story in there and everything, but I got the first one to see if I liked it before I got the rest of the trilogy. And then I bought the first book in, I don't know if this is called the Legend series. I know it's a trilogy, and I really actually don't know anything about this. I just know that it's all over, that this is like a popular series, and so I thought for $3 I'm going to try the first one and see where it goes. The next one is Wool by Hugh Howey, and this is a post-apocalyptic science fiction kind of book, and I think it's actually several stories in one, this version, from what I can tell. Yeah, it's got like different parts, and I think it might have been published separately, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of confused about that. There might be more in this series, or this might be a compilation. I'll find out once I read it. But all I know about it is it's after some kind of major disaster, and there's people living underground in a silo, and suddenly one man has decided he wants to go to the outside, and what happens from there. Next is Big Little Lies, and this obviously was made into a television show. I haven't seen the show, or is it a miniseries? Is it a? I don't know. It's on HBO, and I never watched it, but I've heard this is kind of like a domestic thriller with a bunch of women who are wives, and they're kind of, something happened, somebody's died, and kind of the mystery solving. And then I got My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Bachman, and I've always wanted to read a book by Frederick Bachman, and I saw this one on Thrift Books, so I picked it up, and I didn't really read it all, what it was about. I just heard a couple of people said they liked it, so since I've wanted to read one of his books, I just picked it up, and from the back it just sounds like it's about this girl who's best friends with her grandmother, and then when her grandmother passes away, she is left with the task of passing on these notes that her grandmother wrote to people in her life, and I'm assuming that she will start to learn lessons from her grandmother through these letters. I also bought The Last Child by John Hart. This is I don't know if it's just a plain mystery or if it's a thriller, but it's about a boy whose twin sister disappeared when they were 12, and a year later she's still missing, and so she's presumed dead, and he's decided that he's going to find her, and he thinks she's still alive, and so him, as a 13-year-old boy, going out there and doing everything he can to find his sister. The next few are middle grade books. I got Counting by Sevens, and this is, from what I heard, it was about a young girl who kind of is a loner and just kind of connects with her family. She's very intelligent but doesn't really talk to anybody at school, but then something tragic happens to her family, and so then her trying to find her place in the world and to make connections with people again. And then I got The Mysterious Benedict Society. This is the first in a middle grade series, I believe, and I don't know much about it, but just from like what I've heard about it being like a group of like talented and gifted children that had to do kind of a bunch of tests in order to get into this society. It just sounds like an interesting read. It's a lot bigger than I thought it would be from being a middle grade book, and then it's several books. So we'll see. I mean, it might be something that I enjoy more than sharing with my children, but that's fine. I would be happy to read it if it's something interesting. And then the next one is Esperanza Rising, which is a middle grade about a girl who was living a good life in Mexico and thought that they would continue to live on their family's ranch and everything, but then suddenly it's during the Depression and something happens that makes it so she and her mother have to flee to California and have to start working in a labor camp. And so her having to deal with having to do hard labor for the first time, and how to, I mean, it's a completely change of her lifestyle and how she deals with that. And the last one from Thrift Books is a graphic novel. It's called Amulet, and this is the #1 in this collection of graphic novels. You can see, got nice pictures. And all I know is that it's about 2 kids who go to move to this home that they inherit or something, and their mother is kidnapped, so them solving the mystery, and it's a several part series. So I thought that would be interesting because I'm trying to get into graphic novels a little bit, so it seemed like a good one. And then now, those are all my thrift books, so that was $45 for those 15 books. And next will be my, or maybe 14, and then next will be my books from Book Outlet. And the first 2 are both kind of part of a series. It's called Quotable Wisdom, and all these are quotes. So this one's quotes from Abraham Lincoln, or quotes about him, and then this one was quotes from the Irish, and it just seemed like a cute little books. I like to hear quotes from famous people, so I thought I would just get them since they were each like $1.50 or something. And the next nonfiction is called Letters to a Young Muslim by Omar Saif Gobash, and I think this is about a man he's a diplomat, I believe, and a father, and he writes a series of letters to his son, and it's all about how to be a good Muslim while still living in a modern world. And I like to read books about faiths which are not my own, and I've heard from a woman who is Muslim that this is something that she recommended, so I wanted to check it out because I like to learn more about the different world religions, and it's kind of a way to do that in a personal way since it's letters to his son. And then I got a couple books that I've already read, but I didn't own the books. I got First Frost by Sarah Edison Allen. She's one of my favorite authors. I've talked to her before, and this one's actually a sequel to this book, which if you've watched my channel, you know that I like. This is my favorite book. I love it, and so this is the sequel to that book. So I can't really tell you what it's about since that would spoil the first book. But she writes magical realism. And then the next one is By Your Side by Casey West. I have read this. I've actually probably read this twice, I think. But both times I read it through audiobook, so I've never actually read the physical copy. And if I find Casey West's books for really cheap, I think this was $2, I'm just picking them up because I do really enjoy them. And this is about a girl who gets stuck in a library with a boy that she barely knows, and they're there for like a whole weekend. And then the next one is called The Last One, and this is, I've only heard about this book from like one person, but it just sounded really interesting, and I don't even remember who that person was on book 2, but it's about a woman who decides to take part into a reality television show, and she's kind of put into the wilderness or something like that, and then something happens in the real world, like a huge disaster, and she gets to where she can't tell the difference between what's part of the show and what is reality. And that just sounded really interesting to me, and it doesn't look like too long of a book, so I thought I would pick it up and actually check it out without looking into it much. And I also got We Are the Ants, and this has been around a lot. It's, I think it's like a contemporary with a little bit of sci-fi about a boy who is visited by aliens, and he's given the choice to destroy the Earth or not, and I just wanted to check it out because a lot of people have talked about it. Another one is A Study in Charlotte, and this is a kind of, I don't know if it's a retelling of Sherlock Holmes, but it's more like about his descendants. So there's a girl who's a descendant of Sherlock and a boy who's a descendant of Watson, and they're thrown together, and they didn't know each other before and probably didn't want to, and then they get thrown together in a situation where there's a murder, and it's kind of mimicking an old Holmes and Watson investigation, so they're implicated in the murder, and so then they have to work together to prove that they didn't do it or something like that. And that is like a series, I believe, and this is the first one, so I wanted to see the first one. And the next one is The Inheritance by Charles Finch, and this is the 10th book in the Charles Lennox mystery series, which is something I love, and I've only read the first 7. So I still have 2 more to read before I read this one, but since they had it on Book Outlet for cheap, I wanted to get it because I know I'm going to get it to it eventually, and I might as well get it when I can get it at a good price. And then I got This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This has been all over the place, and it's a duology, and I like series that are short because sometimes I can lose track if it's a really long series. So I thought since this is a duology and it seemed like everybody loved it, I don't really actually understand. I know it's about like monsters and humans, and people don't give away much, I'm assuming because they don't want to spoil. But I thought since it's just 2 books, I'm going to check it out. And then I also got Jane Steele, which this is a kind of like retelling of Jane Eyre, but with a big twist. This is supposed to be where Jane Eyre is a serial killer. And I guess, but it still says that she's heroic. So I don't really know much about what happens. I didn't look a lot into it because I actually still have to read Jane Eyre, but I'm going to do that this summer, and then I'll have this to read as kind of like a reimagining after I finish Jane Eyre. And just so you know, like a book outlet, there's two different kinds of books you can get. You can get like the regular books that are like new, or you can get what they call scratch and dent. And usually, I'm trying to think if I have an example. I don't know, but usually when I get a scratch and dent book, it's cheaper. And it might just have like the top is a little bent, or there might be like a little like the edge is kind of crumpled. It's usually not bad at all. This one had a complete slash through the middle. You can see I had to tape it. That is the worst I've ever had from a scratch and dent. So just so you know, if you were wondering, if you go to Book Outlet, whether you should get a scratch and dent, this is the first time I've ever had the cover completely sliced. It was obvious that it was in a box and somebody used a box cutter and sliced it, and that's why they're selling it for cheap on Book Outlet. But for the most part, when you get scratch and dent, it's not going to be like that. It'll probably just have like a few little issues on the top corners, but it won't be exactly like new. So that's the difference. And then I had a couple middle grades I did get from Book Outlet as well. I got this book called The Forbidden Library, and I saw Emma Novella on her channel. She had talked about this in a haul, and when she was talking about it, it's about a girl who goes to live with an uncle she'd never met before, who has this massive library that's forbidden, that she's not supposed to go into, but a talking cat tells her to go in and get a specific book. And she had me at talking cat, because I just thought that sounded really interesting. So I got it, because it's middle grade, it should go by really fast, and it's a series, so if I like this first one, it's something I can get to put in my daughter's collection. And then I got this is Wild Magic by Tamara Pierce, and this is a middle grade series as well, and it's about a young girl who can talk to animals. And actually there's 4 in this series, and I got 3. So I got that one, I got Wolf Speaker, and Emperor Mage. So I got the first 3 in the series. That's all they had at Book Outlet, so I just really like these covers. So I'm hoping I can find the 4th one in these matching covers to have the whole set. So that's it. That's 39 books that I got. And so, like I said, I haven't picked my charity yet, but it'll have something to do with dyslexia. So if you happen to know of a charity that supports people with dyslexia, that would be great. If not, I'll just do my research and tell you in August what charity I'm going to support. Thanks for watching. Bye.